Hey guys, welcome back to 90 Degree Turns, where we expand the minds, beliefs, and perspectives of the collective and awaken the sleeping many. I'm your host, Trisha Margus, and today we are back for round 2 with hypnotist Antonio Sangio. Antonio, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
No problem.
Awesome to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. So I would love to dive into the topic of entities in this episode.
I love that topic.
Yes, and so from my understanding, you do QHHT and introspective hypnosis, among with other modalities, correct?
Yes, QHHT, introspective hypnosis, and LBL, life between lives. Michael Newton's technique.
Okay.
Right.
So
three.
can you tell us, with those 3 different modalities, which one focuses on entities, if any of them?
Introspective hypnosis.
Okay.
Introspective hypnosis focuses on entities. It's not that it focuses, because we're not hunting for anything. We're not looking for anything. They just manifest during the session.
Okay.
But we're trained on how to deal with and how to help them.
Okay. So could you maybe tell our audience, what was your first experience with encountering an entity with a client under hypnosis?
Well, I was training. This was in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. I was able to host Aurelio Mejia, one of my teachers and mentors, in Charlotte. So I was able to host him, and he came to my house. We facilitated sessions in my home office. We were able to facilitate in 6 days 38 sessions. He was a machine. It was session after session after session. So I was shadowing him. My first experience was with him, shadowing him, how he was talking to spirits, how he was working with spirits. But when he was gone, he went back to Colombia. He's from Colombia, South America. People started contacting me for sessions because he was introducing me his YouTube videos. So people started contacting me. They knew who I was, where I was located, and what I was doing. So a week after he was gone, I had my first session when I was able to find. I ran into 3 spirits, 3 attachments. Think of any possible challenge you could face in a hypnosis session. Now put up all of those challenges together in one session. That was the session. If I'm not mistaken, that is session number 10 in my YouTube channel. Elsa was the name of my client, and there were 3 spirits attached to her.
Wow. So I mean, did you feel prepared when you discovered these entities? What was the experience like?
Well, at the beginning, when I noticed when the first spirit started communicating with me, I felt like this energy, like, all right, it's like there's something here. You can feel the energy of the spirit. But I was calm. I remember what I had trained with Aurelio, and I was not afraid at any moment. And this is what I when in my classes I teach everybody not to be afraid of a spirit, because nothing is going to happen to you. And I was able to. It's like talking to somebody that is not present through your client's body. You know, it's still like talking to a person. It's nothing out of the ordinary. But I felt this energy and how it started communicating with me. So that was my first experience. But it was a beautiful session.
And you think that experience shaped how you approached discovering entities and other clients moving forward?
Absolutely, because I had already learned and understood our work and our objective through Aurelio's training, because we're here to help spirits. They come attached. It's not a possession, though. They attach to energetic body, right? It's like a tick. The tick actually lives out of your blood and transmits to you a disease, Lyme disease, right? And because you have that disease, you feel weak, you feel sick, you're forced to change your plans. If you were going on a vacation, maybe you're going to change it because you're not feeling well. Same thing happens to a spirit. They attach to your energetic field and then leave out of your energy. But as they're doing that, they transmit their emotions, they're part of their personality, their symptoms, their addictions. They transmit that to you, and because of that, you start experiencing some problems, right? So what I learned is that we needed to help them understand and help them go to the light. So we treat them with love, with respect, with affection. And that session was beautiful because The first spirit I started communicating with had attached to this lady. If you want me to tell you the whole story of what happened,
If you wouldn't mind.
no problem. So I was working with my client, and before working with my client, I do an interview. So in the interview, they tell me about their lives and about the issues that they want to work on during the session. So as I was working with Elsa, she started feeling pain in her foot, right foot. The pain was not there when she came. She was not limping. She didn't mention anything during the interview about her foot. However, the pain was strong. So I noticed that that was a spirit trying to manifest itself. There are many ways in which they manifest. Okay. So I just asked her to let that pain communicate with me. And it was a spirit. It was a spirit called Cesar. As I was talking to this spirit named Cesar, he said that he wanted to talk to Elsa's aunt, who was waiting for her in my living room.
Okay.
Right. So I want to. He said, and you can watch this on the video. He said, I need to talk to Blanca, and Elsa's mother's name was Blanca as well. Mm-hmm. So okay, Blanca the mother or Blanca the aunt? No, the aunt, the one that was waiting outside. So I went ahead and called out Blanca. Blanca, there is a spirit that wants to talk to you. And the spirit said, are you Blanca? Yes, I am. I needed to talk to you. I needed to meet you. So to make the long story short, that spirit was Blanca's husband in a past life. So Blanca was a different woman in a past life. Obviously, she was not aware of this. She consciously was not aware of it. But that spirit and Blanca were husband and wife in a past life. Mm. And that spirit, as he was traveling maybe old times, that spirit was killed. Right? And according to what the spirit, Blanca thought and felt that this man still had a body, abandoned her and the kids. So this was not allowing this spirit to go to the light. So knowing that Elsa was Blanca's niece, he attached to her. And obviously it seems that they know the session was going to take place. He saw the opportunity and started communicating with us and said, I am sorry. I did not abandon you and my kids. I was killed. I loved you very much. And Blanca started crying, even though she didn't consciously remember of him and her being in the past life, right? So at that time, that spirit was ready to leave. And it felt so good being able to help a spirit transmit a message to this other woman and finally saying, now I'm ready to leave. Wow. And that actually changed my practice. It changed my purpose. And every time I find a spirit, as I say during the classes that I teach, we need to find the story behind those attachments. Each attachment has a story. There's a reason why they're there. Even if it's revenge, even if they're lost, even if they want to transmit a message, for whatever reason there is, we need to treat them with love, respect, affection, and help them go to the light. So I consider that one of my missions, and I really love it. I like it.
So what are the other kinds of ways that an entity could show its presence? You said that initially the lady said that she felt a pain in her foot. Right. What other ways could you know that there's an entity present or attached to the person's ethereal body and energetic body?
They manifest in different ways. They can manifest, it has happened many, many times. But I had recently a session over Zoom, and this lady could not visualize anything, could not feel anything, could not think of anything, but all she said is, I have a headache. The headache was not there when we started. My head hurts. So they manifest that headache, pressure in the chest. Maybe you're talking to them, you're asking them questions, and maybe the answer to a question you ask is out of context. Maybe the date they're giving you is out of context. When you ask your client for, as if, let's say you're regressing your client to a memory in this life, and when you ask the client, how old are you? And you know your client is 30 years old and they tell you I'm 50, you know you're not talking to your client, right? So it's not that they will say, hi, hello, by the way, I'm attached to your client, I need to talk to you. Sometimes they don't even know. They don't even realize that they're lost. They not even realize that they're dead. And sometimes they don't want to deal with you. They don't want to face whatever they have to face, and they don't want to be discovered. But in some way they manifest themselves in different ways. So that's why we need to pay attention during the session to what the client is saying. Involuntary movements, marks in your client's body, red marks that appear all of a sudden. They manifest in many different ways. I guess it's with experience that you learn how to recognize that something is there or someone is there.
So these entities, have you found that are there's all variety of emotions? Are some of them like angry or sad, lost? Okay, are there happy entities that can be attached to someone, or the ones that you encounter in these sessions? What is there a pattern to them?
There's a little bit of everything. So first we need to understand that those are lost souls, lost spirits. Okay, so maybe because there was sudden death, or they died under anesthesia and they don't realize they're dead, or they were alive in one moment, something happened, maybe an accident, a crash, and boom, all of a sudden they're dead. They don't realize they have died. So what we need to understand is that they're still in this plane. And because they're in this plane, they have not gone to the light. They still maintain their personality, their habits, their addictions. It's like, imagine that you die in this moment. It's still you without a body. It's the same personality, it's the same addiction. If you like smoking, it's the same. You're still you. But they need to attach to somebody in order to live out of that energy. And when they do that, they transmit their addictions, or somebody that committed suicide, this person starts getting suicidal thoughts, for example, right?
Yeah.
So there are no bad spirits. There's no. What I say is that we all come from the same source, from the light, and just because of that, they deserve the same respect and affection. And we need to help them, make them understand that they're not in a place that is beneficial for them, that they need to go to the light, they need to evolve. Sometimes they attach to my clients because there's revenge. Maybe they were enemies in a past life, and they just follow him to this life because they recognize the soul, the energy, the frequency, that signature, which is unique, the frequency, they attach to them and they start doing things to them in revenge. So we work on forgiveness, trying to understand what happened. I have the client, maybe the client killed them in a past life, let's work on forgiveness. Some others attach because, hey, maybe it's a relative, it's a loved one. I'm attaching to my wife because I'm waiting for her for this body to die so we can go together to the light.
Oh,
so they stay together.
It's like The Notebook.
Yeah, so, well,
from an energetic perspective,
yes,
like,
exactly.
I'm waiting for you.
Exactly, it happens a lot. What else? Then you have the ones that really don't realize that they're died, that the body died. So it happened to me in a few sessions where they were just passing by and they saw the opportunity and they started communicating with me. When I asked them, do you realize that you no longer have a body? They said, no, what are you talking about? They didn't understand.
So you kind of have to break the news to them.
Right. And because the death was sudden. I mean, it could be under general anesthesia or they were in a coma or a tragic accident.
Yeah. They just don't realize for some reason.
They have not experienced. Remember I was mentioning to you about people dying, and when the body is dying, they have like a tunnel vision. They're only focusing on what the body is doing as they're dying. They have not gone through experiencing pain or whatever. They were not aware that the body was dying, so they were not able to close that cycle. For them, they still have a body, they're still alive. So you need to make them understand. And you have some others that they say they were sent. Not witchcraft and stuff, even though I don't believe in that. But anyway, they say I have been sent by somebody to cause problems to this person.
Like a hex or a curse.
Yeah, you can call it that way. But in the end, you work with them. I enjoy talking to them. I enjoy helping them and make them understand that they're attached to a body that doesn't belong to them. It's not a possession, though. It's just an attachment. And once we work on whatever they have to work, they go to the light. Some of them tell you, I've been waiting for you, waiting for me. Yeah, for what? So you can help me cross over. They knew ahead of time that the session was going to take place. Some others put all kind of obstacles in the way so that the client doesn't get to you. because they know what's going to happen.
And they don't
You
want it.
you
They
want to
like,
take me out of here. Now I don't want to take you anywhere. You can stay there for as long as you want. That's your problem. That's your evolution. I just want to talk to you, so you get that kind of
gotta
reaction.
kind of have a
Yeah.
friendly, gotta try
It's
and
a
kind
friendly
of get to their
conversation.
side.
It's like talking
Yeah.
to a friend. It's like talking to a little kid that is lost. So that's a way to help them.
Have you ever encountered an entity that, let's say they seem like, okay, they're gonna go to the light, they're gonna leave the current body that they're surrounding, and they decide to trick you, and they're like, oh, we're not really gonna leave. Have they been tricksters at all?
I have not run into those when they say they're leaving and they stay. Well, number one, whenever we do this type of sessions, we say it's only one session is necessary. But if my client will still be feeling something, they will have called me or let me know, or coming back for another session. I will say I've been lucky enough, or maybe I was able to convince them. So no, I didn't have any of those issues. But the truth is that we don't have any power over them. If they want to come back, or if they're saying, I'm leaving and they're not leaving, there's no way for you to know. And you don't have any power over them. That's why it's a good idea to talk to them. It's like, let's say you're in a museum and you see a kid going and touching those artifacts or ornaments. They're going behind the ropes. You have two options. You can either yell at the kid, hey, you kid, what are you doing there? You're not supposed to be doing that stuff. Get out of there now. What's going to happen with the kid? As soon as you're gone, that kid is coming back because the kid is curious. He wants to know about those artifacts. But if you go ahead and tell, you know what, little friend, you should not be touching those artifacts or those ornaments because they're very expensive. In case they break, it's going to be a big loss for humanity. And you talk to him with love and affection and explain why it's not a good idea for him to be touching that, the kid would understand. And he's going to go and not going to come back. Wow. So that's kind of basically how it works.
Do you know if there's any like universal laws or anything that regard, I don't know, like for example, if an entity doesn't want to leave a person's field, that person has to still be of some kind of a vibrational match to that entity, right? Otherwise they wouldn't be there.
Well, sometimes they attach to them because they resonate with how they are. Let's say if the person that died of a drug overdose attaches to somebody that is a drug addict, because in a way they still want to experience that through that body, through that host.
Okay. So through habits and things that kind of resonate in one way or another. There's a frequency that
it could be, but sometimes they just see the opportunity and attach to you.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. A hospital is the worst place for that. People that go. And I'm not the only one saying this. There's a lot of people that have been doing this longer than I've been doing this for. When you're under general anesthesia, it's a kind of a trance. You leave your body. Some people under general anesthesia, they come back and they can tell what the doctors were saying because they were floating in the room, what the doctors were talking about, thinking, and everything they were doing. Your soul leaves your body when you're under anesthesia. But you have other lost souls. The hospital is infected of lost souls, people that died tragically or passed away and didn't realize they're dead. So they see the opportunity and they attach to you.
And then you bring them down when you come back to your body.
Right, so it's not because they resonate with you, it's like they just see the opportunity and attach, right?
Goodness.
Sometimes without even realizing.
Yeah, wow. So then is there any way one can consciously be aware of an entity around you without going into a hypnotic state?
Most people don't realize. So when people come to us and we do the interview, as we're talking to them and they're saying certain things, certain phrases, for us it's a hint, like there could be something there, but they don't know. Unless you're trained in the field and you know that what you're feeling doesn't belong to you. But somebody saying, like, for example, right? You know that my husband, let's say it's a woman that comes for a session, my husband says that at times he doesn't seem to be me. I seem to be a different person. That's a red flag. Or that I talk a lot when I'm sleeping, or I talk in a different language when I'm sleeping, or I have this current nightmare over and over and over and over. I'm not saying that it's for sure that there's something going on there, but it's interesting enough for me to pay attention, write it down, and pay attention during the session to see if there's something going on. So people don't realize that.
Wow, that's really fascinating. And there's little, tiny little details that you have to pick
Tiny-
up on to be like, oh, okay, let's see. Is there something there? It's just, this is
Yes.
them. Who knows?
Yes, like somebody having suicidal thoughts. I don't know why, because I never had an issue in my childhood. I've been happy and never had an issue with my father. I have this voice telling me to kill myself. You know, there's something there.
Where's it coming from?
Right. So people don't know.
Do you think it's possible, let's say like you have a friend that has suicidal thoughts, is it possible that just being in proximity to others, you can kind of, they can hop from you to, from another person to you?
It is possible. I heard through other people that they even go from your client to the therapist. I heard that from Jose Luis Cabuli. That they jump from the client
They hop trains
to
basically.
the hypnotist, right?
Oh, wow.
But again, in order for them to attach to you, that means that you're vibrating at a low level, a low frequency, or something is going on with you. That is why if you're not doing well emotionally, or if you're sick, don't facilitate sessions, because your shield is not up all the way. Okay?
And this brings up a really important point that we have to feel ourselves, just as human beings, good.
Exactly.
And in alignment with,
Right.
and more than just the physical level, physical, mental,
Yes,
emotional,
yes,
the whole
yes.
spiritual body.
That is why it is important that for us that we do this job, that we work on ourselves first. We need to clear ourselves of those emotions, of all those problems. And we're human beings. We all have problems. So we're married, and we might have problems in our marriage, or we might have an argument, or something with our kids. Anything that puts us down, whenever you're feeling that way, it's not a good idea to have a session. It's not fair for you. It's not fair for your client. And your frequency is low at that time, so your shield is down.
That's really interesting and important, I think, for our audience to know. I mean, it's, I think.
People don't believe in this stuff. And again, I always say, you don't have to believe what I'm saying. Go watch my videos. I don't have to. Some time ago, I had to explain myself. Whenever I said something, I had to explain myself. No, trust me, this is how it works. This is what happened to me. I don't need to do that anymore. Please don't believe in what I'm saying. Go watch my videos. Different clients, different nationalities, different cultures, different languages experience the same thing. There's got to be something to it.
Must be.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know if feelings themselves can create an entity. You were mentioning that if someone's feeling down, right,
Okay.
that they can attract an entity. But let's say someone is just feeling very, I don't know, just they're in a low place, their career is going the way they want to, right?
Okay.
Can they manifest an entity, or from your experience, like, can it just show up? Like it's like another aspect of them that...
They might feel things as attachments, but they might be not. Let me give you an example. Let's say a woman that had an abortion. Okay. In my humble opinion, I might be wrong, but in my humble opinion, I don't think a spirit that is about to go into that body doesn't know. I don't think that spirit doesn't know that that baby is not going to be born, because what is the time frame in order to have an abortion? I don't know.
It depends on which state you live in.
Let's say 3, 4.
Yeah.
At that time, that body is empty. There's nothing. There's nothing. Maybe there's a cord of light of a spirit that is supposed to occupy that body, but there's nothing, because the body starts integrating to that body sometime later, and it starts integrating with the emotional system, with the brains, the neurotransmitters, all that stuff. It takes time. But at the beginning, that body is empty, right? So what I'm saying is that once that person decided to have an abortion, there was nothing there. But it's the emotion, is the guilt, is whatever they're feeling now, not back then. Because back then, who knows what they were going through? It was a difficult time. But when they come to a session at the current age, they feel sad, they feel guilty, and there's an opportunity to work on forgiveness. So they might see that as an attachment, but I would say it is not. However, if my client thinks or feels it's an attachment, I treat it as a real attachment. What counts is my client's reality and perception, not my opinion. If they feel and think it's a real attachment, I I still talk to the attachment. I will still work on forgiveness. And let's say I haven't talked to the soul that was going to be born through them, right? The spirit. And they work on forgiveness, and that's it.
And you can release it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that the soul is there. The soul is out there, but they still can communicate.
Yeah.
And what has happened before is women started crying. My client started crying because when I said, will you have a chance to be born again through her? I'm already born. I was talking to one of the existing kids' higher self, basically, right?
Wow.
So yeah. So some people might feel it's not that create, but they might think that they have attachments and feel it, but they might be not. Some of the people come to the session saying, I went to a psychic, and the psychic told me that I have an attachment.
Could be.
Could be, which I find very responsible. Number one depends on what kind of psychic, right? Depending on what kind of psychic. You're gonna let a person going out of your office thinking that they have an attachment, and then they come to see me and said, I come because I think I have an attachment. And when we do the session, there's nothing. There's nothing there. There's nothing. So it all depends on the client's perception. You know?
Wow. Oh. So then, when you open yourself up to healing as a person who is, let's say, under a hypnotic state, right? They open themselves to release things and heal. Is there any precautions you take to like close those portals, energetic doors, so that when they leave the office, can they have like a protective shield around them so they maybe don't let other entities that they let go come back? Is there any way to protect oneself?
The way I see it, so people ask me, right, Antonio, what is your protection when you work with spirits? Do you do any rituals? Do you burn sage or Palo Santo, whatever? Not really. My protection is my heart. So I spirits know, they can feel your energy. They know who you are. They know what you're going to do. They know I'm there to help them, right? So my protection is my heart, is my intention. And at that time, it is my heart, the one that protects my client during the session. Now, in some techniques, you ask your client to imagine themselves in a bubble of white light, which you can do, whatever works for them. But when I start working with my clients, and that's my intention, that my heart protects my space, and my client is in my space as we work. And I am sure, and I say I'm sure because I've been told this many times, we don't work by ourselves. When I'm working with my client, at least I have my guide with me, and my client has their guide with them, right? So we're all protected all the time. Nothing is going to happen. I've been doing this for 6 years already, and I do this out of my home office. Not a problem, never.
So when you say that your guide is around you, do you feel their energetic presence? Do you see them?
No, I'm not a person that feels the energy of my guide. I've been told that through my clients about beings being present in the room.
Interesting.
But even though I'm not able to feel, I'm able to get the information. So Michael Newton said in one of his books that the best therapist for your client is not you, is your client's spirit guide. That we should open up and receive that information and let the guide work through us. What has been happening is that once you learn the technique and you feel comfortable, and once you do everything like second nature, you open up and you see a lot more things taking place during the session. Your client and the guides, the beings being present in the room will give you hints, right? And what happens is that at times you ask questions, and let's put it that way, you don't know why you ask that question, but it's exactly what you needed to ask. Or you use a word, or you use a sentence that your client needed to hear exactly. And even though you might say, I don't know where that came from, now I know that I'm channeling that information that is being transmitted to me. So I become an instrument of them so they can work through me. And I don't feel them, but I clearly have this communication. And sometimes it's like, okay, here we go. I just said this, I don't know why. An example of this was with a client. My client was married 4 times, right?
Okay.
She went back to a memory with her first husband. So as we were working on this memory, I decided to tell her a story of this prince that was turned into a frog. Right? That was the story, right? So that in order for this prince to be prince again, another frog had to be kissed by a princess, right? I think that's how the
This is like
story
a classic
goes.
tale, yeah.
So as I was working with her, I don't know why, even though I know why, I said, well, remember this story, such and such and such, how it worked? And I said, it seems that you just kissed your first frog. And my client started laughing. And she said, that's exactly what I tell everybody, that I had to kiss many frogs in order to find my current husband, which is the love of my life. I had never used that story. I never talk about frogs with my client. And that's exactly what she needed to hear.
It came through.
And it came through.
At the right moment.
Yeah, right. That's a clear example of how you channeling information being sent to you by the guy.
Wow.
So that you can ask questions and say things that resonate completely with your client.
Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. That's I love when those kind of like synchronicities happen, right? Where, like you said, it just comes right through, and you just know this is the right thing to say.
Right.
How it's going to end up, you don't know, but
you don't
try
know.
it, and usually, I mean, if you follow that ping of intuition,
Exactly.
it'll work.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything that you don't typically talk about that you'd love to share with our audience, whether it's about hypnotherapy or just anything out there that isn't maybe as common of a question that you get asked that you'd love to talk
about? Let's see. Oh, it's a good question. Things that I would like to talk about. We already spoke about souls and how they get lost. We already spoke about soul fragments, how the soul is fragmented. What else do we get in our sessions? Is the level of a trance. People come into the sessions thinking that they need to be deep in a trance in order to obtain results. And it's not true. One of the techniques that we use, and we use it a lot in our sessions, is forgiveness therapy. People need to understand that it doesn't matter how deep you go in a trance. You might not even be in a trance, and you can still forgive. And forgiving is helping you release that emotion. So what I'm trying to say is that even though we practice hypnosis, clients should not focus so much on how they feel once we're doing the induction, because the induction is not trance. The induction takes a person to a place where it opens the doors of trance and places the person there. But as we keep working with memories, the person starts disconnecting little by little. So you can accomplish the same thing without an induction, just by talking about these issues. This is what happened today in the class. I was explaining about this gentleman that he was talking about this memory, went to an altered state of consciousness and was able to work on whatever he had to work to say goodbye to his wife, who had passed away some time ago. So yes, forgiveness therapy and the level of a trance. Those are two things that are very important for people when they come to see us.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For coming onto this show and for sharing your knowledge about hypnotherapy and letting us know more about entities and understanding them more on a deeper level. So
yeah, working with entities is beautiful. They come attached to your client. So it's two for the price of one. They come with your client. There's a client as well. Sometimes you end up doing therapy on the spirits. You even do regression to the spirits. You do role change with the spirits. You take them back to the time where they have a body in order for them to understand how that body died. So there are many things that take place during the session. But working with the spirits is beautiful.
Wow. And there's never been a time where you've been just too scared or maybe just frightened from how maybe intense the spirit was? You've been able to handle?
Well, not as scared, but I was taken by surprise because I was working with a client, and there was you talked about tricksters, right? So there was this client that had an attachment, and when I started communicating with the attachment, this attachment was pretending to be the spirit guide.
That's tricky.
That's tricky, right? So there's always a good idea. There's not a good idea. We should always test the spirits. So by asking questions, you can understand what type of spirit you're dealing with. Spirit guides is about love and compassion. The spirit guide is not going to tell you about predictions and things and hate. So as I was talking and asking questions, the answers I was getting did not make any sense. So I asked the spirit, okay, I understand that you're not a guide. Please tell me who you are. This spirit was this woman's husband in a previous life. They were in a previous life and she cheated on him. Okay. So in this life, that spirit had attached to her looking for revenge. And it was causing all kind of problems with her. He was putting away everybody that was about to date her. He would start putting them away. It was a lot of problems. So as I was asking him to go to the light and work on forgiveness, I was kind of maybe pushing it too hard to do that. And all of a sudden, as we were asking the spirit to go to the light and work on forgiveness, my client started shaking. It looked like an exorcism, even though that's not what we do. I don't believe in any of that. I would never disrespect the spirit that way. She started shaking and screaming, and my notebook and my IDs I recorded, everything went into the air, Not that it scared me, I was not expecting that, so it took me by surprise. But then I started talking to the spirit. Why are you doing that? What you're doing doesn't make any sense. You're saying that you love her, however, you treat her this way. So everything that you're causing to her, what can I do to help you? I'm here to help you. So after talking to the spirit, they were able to agree that they were going to the light and resolve whatever issues they had pending in the light, that he was not going to do anything to her. And went to the light. That's one of the ones that took me by surprise.
I can only imagine. I mean, if your client's just calm and then out of nowhere they're
screaming and shaking and yelling, and it was like it looked like a scene from The Exorcist, even though that's not what I do. But in the end, he went okay, and she said thank you, and went to the light.
Wow!
And the client never had a problem again.
So clear that one.
So,
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. It's been amazing. So can you tell our audience one more time, where can we find you?
Oh, yeah. You can go to my website, antoniosangio.com. Sangio spells Sangio. You can also go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Antonio Sangio, or my Facebook page, facebook.com/introspective hypnosis.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming on, Antonio. This has been such a pleasure to learn more about entities and the work that you do. So you guys definitely check out his work. If you haven't seen part 1, it'll be linked in the description below. And I hope you guys just enjoy this content. So stay tuned for the next ones. And thanks for being here.
Good. Bye. Thank you. Bye.